Welcome to the show, Raquel. This is the Johnny Rogers show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. I've had the great pleasure of getting to talk to many people that Nicole is managing, and everybody has been awesome. So I'm happy to get to know you as well. Your word for the episode was heart. What made you choose heart as your word?
Yeah, of course. So I was thinking about heart because it's like the center of everything. You got to take care of your heart. I write with my heart. You got to lead with your heart, trust your heart, and also ultimately you can't lie to your heart. So I felt like that really summed up what I felt was very important and like what I thought about for a word.
I love that. Yeah, and it's true, like how much. Even in just like you were saying, all of the different ways that you can use your heart in addition to like actual heart health. It's funny how much this like one organ of our body we've applied so much meaning, like, oh, he's got good heart, like, that song has
True.
heart, and you're like, it's so strange that we've just applied such an emotion of like strength and love and everything into this one, like what's essentially just an organ that's keeping us alive, I guess.
Yep, exactly. You got to really take care of it. You got to eat right. You got to exercise, calm it down sometimes.
Yeah. And then, we should say for the audience too that this is Raquel, and the Wildflowers couldn't also be on the call, which is your band, I guess would be is that how it goes? Like it's yourself and then the Wildflowers are your bandmates?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm Raquel and then the band is the Wildflowers.
Yeah. Okay, great. You started as an actor. You started out in acting. What was the moment for you where you knew that like music was going to be more your path?
I always knew at a young age that I was like I just always knew this is what I was meant to do. I don't really come from a family that does their passion as their career, so I've been figuring it out. But I've been writing and singing ever since I was a kid, and when I can't remember when, I think it might have been that exact moment, but it was like I went to like this Christian music camp and we did a musical one year, and I was like so hooked with the musical theater world. And it's funny because I was like, in terms of writing my own music, I had no, clueless, didn't know how to even do that. But I felt like when you audition for shows, it's more of that quote unquote traditional route because you're going to an interview, even though like 99.9% of the time you don't get the job.
Yeah. That's very
uh,
true. That's very accurate description of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I was in an acting class one time and they were like, "You've made it if you got into the audition room." And I was like, "What? How am I gonna keep the lights on if I'm auditioning?" It was
Yeah.
like so funny. But I had like a moment when I was in LA where I was living there for a little bit and I entered this very small singer-songwriter competition and um I placed second, and I was very inspired and motivated at that moment. I kind of always follow my heart and my intuition, and it was just telling me, like, you have to go back to New York. You got to figure this out. It's now or never, just try. And so when I came back to New York, I was still auditioning while trying to figure out how to record my songs. But I started to reach out to kids that I went, not kids, but people I went to high school with that were in bands. And so
Mm.
I reached out to them on Facebook. I was like, "Hey, are you still in a band? Do you still do music?" Some said yes, others said no. And I was like, "Could you give me some advice? Like, how do I record an original song?" And so they were like, "You want to get studio musicians together if you don't have a band." And that's what I did. Recorded the song, and I was just immediately like, I was like, "This is it. This makes me so happy. I love being in a space creating and putting it together, seeing it come to life." And from there, I started to put together a band to perform live because you sometimes studio musicians aren't musicians that prefer playing live, but they rather just do studio work.
Mm.
And then there's live bands that prefer performing, and then sometimes you get lucky to find both that likes to do it all. So I was very grateful. to find a group to start performing live. And then I think it was 2019 is when I decided to change, my artist name, which is Raquel De Souza, to Raquel the Wildflowers. I picked the wildflowers because I was thinking about wildflowers in the wild, how each flower has its own unique identity, how when you see it all together, it's something really spectacular and it just complements each other and it works. And I was thinking about all the influences I had growing up. I grew up in the iPod generation, so my playlist still is all over the place. I listen to
Yeah,
rock one moment, the next minute I'm listening to a show tune and so forth, country, pop, and my it influences me as an artist about how I write a song because every song is a little bit different than the next. It has its
yeah.
own unique identity, kind of like the wildflower. And the musicians that I perform with, everybody comes from a different kind of like musical background. But when you put it all together, it really complements each other and it just works.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking when you were saying it the whole time about how you just as creators we do that where we kind of just step over the really big feats and don't really like take into account like some of the things you said where you were like yeah, I wanted to create an original song, already a bold thing for someone to say, right? And then you're like, how do I do that? Well, I just thought I'll reach out to people that know music. They couldn't help me. Well, do you know someone that can help me? Cool. Go there. I just hired the studio musicians. I recorded my song and then it was done. Somebody would put off that task for 10 years and they would have every excuse in the book as to why they couldn't do all of these things that you just rattled off like it was a to-do list, you know? And that's exactly what it is because for the people that have heart and really do want to create, they find a way. And I think at whatever art form that you want to take on, I think everyone should start as an actor first. Because no industry will beat you down and make you have to figure out different situations of how you get here and how you move forwards and do that than acting. Like acting is the biggest like test of like how do you network? How can you move a project forward? Because like it's one thing to be an artist, but you're an artist in obscurity if you're not also like able to do the business aspect of art, which is like the getting the things done. Like we're not all lucky enough to have someone that does those things for us, especially early on, you know?
It's true. And especially live theater, you learn to live in the moment because sometimes a prop can go missing. Sometimes you forget your line, and it's all about being under pressure, staying in that moment to get through the next line. So I definitely have carried a lot that I've learned in that into what I do now when I perform live.
I love that. And I found that helped me with doing in the reverse, doing comedy where I forget like one of my maybe like a premise to the joke or whatever, and then I have to improvise in that moment. That helped with acting because those are the best moments is when you can just like you forget your line, but you don't stop the scene, you just continue it through. And I think that probably translates to music as well too, right? You forget a lyric or you forget the next part of the song if you're playing an instrument and you just have to sort of improvise your way back into it.
It's true. You just got to go with it. The show keeps going.
Yeah.
The show goes on, just like our podcast when my camera was wrong.
Yeah, put it behind us. It's
Put
all
it
good.
up, put it.
It's
You
all
don't want
good.
to.
You shared the stage with some like pretty big names like Lainey Wilson, Tyler Hubbard, just to name a couple. What does it mean to you? And are there any like nerves or like rituals that you do before a performance where you're kind of maybe you look up to that person or you're at least like you want them to like your set, you know what I mean? You want them to think that you did a good job so that you can also move forwards in your career. Yeah, how do you prepare for such a thing?
Um, s- uh, before a show, I always warm up. I always get the body moving. I do some vocal exercises, and then I always sing at least two songs after I warmed up. A more quieter song to make sure my placement is correct. and I also do a big, strong, belty song. I usually gravitate towards two of my originals, Wild Beauty, which is a softer song, and then for a beltier song, I always practice with either Hot July, Summer Love, or Makes Me Stronger. And I always save the beltier one uh as the second one because it's like right before you go on stage, you kind of like let go of all those nerves. I always and still get nervous before I go on stage.
I think you should. I think it means like you're alive, and I think it
Yeah,
means you care about doing well.
it's true.
You
Yeah, and
don't want to be
also
like, I'm the shit. I got this. It's
yeah,
all
that's
good.
true. I mean, that attitude is also cool. People eat that up. But yeah, and then the guys usually they just like hey, they do their thing. Everybody kind of like does their thing and then like they usually like I always like take time for myself. They usually like just hang out and crack jokes and then we all go on stage together and we're like, "All right, let's have a good show." And then we do our thing. But it's funny anytime I book a show with a big name like Lainey Wilson. Oh my gosh, I remember I heard her song Working Overtime many years ago and I'm like, this girl is definitely gonna make it. And look at her now. I'm like, this is I usually have a good eye for that whenever I'm like, this person's going somewhere. um but anytime we ever book opening up for someone or playing a festival with major artists, I immediately think, hold on, I'm sorry, Alexa, stop. That's because I thought the interview was an hour from now.
So it was an alarm.
Thank goodness
It's
I
all
did my
good.
makeup in advance. Oh my
And
gosh.
we didn't have to hop on if you were ready. It was all
Yeah.
good.
Should I redo that?
No.
Or just keep going? Okay. Yeah, so it's funny because I always think that it's a scam until I get a contract. And then when I get the
Right.
contract, I'm like, okay, I don't believe it until we're actually there on the stage because I
Yeah.
have been scammed
You've had a rug
once.
pull where they're like, so and so is going to be there. And then they're like, oh, actually, they canceled.
The
And you're like,
no, not even that. I booked a festival a couple years ago, and I should have known. It's funny, like I already had red flags from the start, and there was nothing
mm,
really red flag about the proposal, but I just couldn't help but get this weird feeling. I was
hmm
like, I don't know, something just doesn't feel right. But like there was a contract, so forth, and it was as it got closer, out of nowhere. um because I kept following up like that show, they owed a deposit and we didn't get the deposit. I'm like, okay, sometimes things are a little bit slower, people work at different pace, like that's okay, like I understand. But as it started getting a little bit closer and closer, and there were some pretty big names on that list, and I saw,
hmm
and it was interesting because I saw one of the guys was on American Idol or something, one of those big shows. I can't remember, I have to
So many singing
look back.
shows now.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, this is legit because they're on it. Okay, so
Yeah.
just calm your nerves, you're just overthinking it. But as it got closer, I don't know where he goes, the show's canceled. Sorry for the inconvenience, and then just completely ghosted and disappeared. And I remember, I don't know what drove me to reach out to a friend because I was just like, kind of like, oh, I'm so upset. This didn't work out. And they were like, hold up, is it this guy from this place? And I was like, yeah. They're like, oh my gosh, this person's still scamming people. Like, he booked me on a show many years ago, and this like the exact same thing happened. And I was like, that is
Insane.
crazy. How, and that's why I think maybe because of that, that kind of always like set this like I don't know, what if this is not legit? But I've learned to kind of like get over it because I was just like one out of like how many shows have we played now?
Yeah.
But it's so funny. Like I still like don't believe it until we're there.
I wouldn't believe it until the check hit the account, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, I did it.
yeah. It's like, oh, it's here.
The money was there.
I don't know. Now I'm like, is it a reverse check? Will it be like reversing in my account? Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Bounces. That's never good.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
good.
It's crazy, like, well, I guess it's not crazy, but it's sad, really, like how many people
Hmm.
want to scam artists.
It's
Like of all
terrible.
kinds. Like there's so many people that just want to find a way to screw artists. Like I remember early on when I was like getting into acting, going to some like they were like a acting slash like modeling agency. So
Mm.
they said like, oh, like you know, you don't have to do that stuff, but we can get you like all this commercials, whatever, blah blah blah. And they're like, you're great. They're like hyping me up. You're great. You're great. You're gonna be so good. You're so good. And after this audition, they're like, you just need a portfolio. So my daughter's a photographer, so she's gonna take the photos, and it's just $1,000. And I was like, hold on. I was like, whoa, wait. Isn't
Yeah.
it supposed to be that like you get paid when I get paid? Isn't
Hmm.
that what a talent agent does usually? You don't usually charge your client $1,000 before they've made any money at all. And
It's
then
true.
even early on, like red flags. But I was just like, man, really? Like I'm just out here trying to like do something I love, and there's people trying to just scam you out of money.
It is, and that's really important if there's any like musician, actors, any kind of artist that works with an agent, like don't ever pay an agent. Their job is to book you the shows and take the commission from your book show that you guys agreed in your contract. So that's really
100%.
important to always like talk about so that there aren't other people that unfortunately gets taken advantage of. It's just
Hmm.
not nice, but there's not nice people in this world.
Yeah. They're looking for the easy cut, like the easy way to make money off of like your artistry.
Yeah.
There's so many people that have terrible contracts just because they either got pressured to sign them or
Hmm.
they just wanted like a break. And like I understand the, you know, the crave of validation, but
Hmm.
let the art being expressed be the validation. The
Yeah.
fact that you are doing it is should be all the validation that you need. You're able to sing, you're able to write good songs, you're able to perform them. That's the validation. You don't need like extra, you know, validation in that regard, I think.
It's true. You are enough. And you can do a lot of this. I mean, now we have to basically do X, Y, and Z and LMNOP. We got to do it all now.
You have to be your own social media manager. You have to be your own like, contract reader. And good thing there's AI programs where you can feed all
Oh,
that
I
in
know.
and be like, let me
Be
know if I'm
careful with
getting
the
screwed.
AIs. Be careful with the AIs. Want to know something? It happened to
Yeah,
me
yeah.
today because you know that whole Barbie box trend, like GI
Yeah, yeah,
Joe.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, this is cute. I want to do this. So
It's
I
fun.
participated, and I didn't catch that I spelled my own band name wrong. Well, I didn't spell it wrong. I wrote
The
it wrong.
AI spelled it
Right
wrong.
to the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
AI. The
Yeah, yeah.
AI wrote it wrong. They put an extra E in Wildflowers, and Nicole at Berkshire Media, she's the
Yeah.
one that caught that. And she was like, hey,
Oh,
by the way, Wildflowers is spelled wrong. I was like, what?
it's
I was like,
funny.
how did I not even catch that? It was just like, whatever. But so, yeah.
Yeah. I love that your be careful is be careful that they spell what you want correctly.
Yeah.
Because
And you
there's
know,
so
it's,
many people that are so against like the like just AI in general that they're like, "Oh, be careful because it's, you know, gonna change your brain or whatever." And I'm like, "I think it's just a tool." And I think if you're not using it right now, you're gonna get left in the dust.
it's
Sadly,
unfortunate. Yeah.
it's an inevitable thing. It's just
Hmm.
too powerful.
It is.
Like Shopify, the CEO here in Canada, literally said that if AI can do your job, we don't need you.
Mm.
So he
Yeah.
said, so you either get replaced by AI or you become the person that knows how to work the AI.
It's
Because it
true.
still needs human prompts. It can't do things on its own.
I know, yet.
Yes, yeah, yeah, until it trains
Creepy.
itself
Oh
to
my
just
gosh.
do that. I still
Save
think
it.
even then you would need somebody to be like the directive because there is
Yeah.
nothing that will beat the creativity of the human brain when it comes to like
Hmm.
problem solving, when it comes to adapting to situations. And
It's
AI
true.
just doesn't have the experience. Like we have you know, our DNA is of people that have lasted for hundreds of thousands of years, maybe, you know,
Hmm.
however old the oldest human is. That means something. Like our brain is like this super intelligent computer in and of itself.
Yep.
So AI is not going to really compete with that at the end of the day.
Hmm. Yeah, it is scary, but yeah, you do have to learn to use it. It is very it helps, especially like being independent. You have to do a lot yourself. Like I don't use it to write music.
Hmm.
I
No.
that I'll shake my finger at someone and be like,
Yeah, yeah,
"Hey,
that's
shame on
crazy.
you." But it's more like the administration thing that it helps me with.
Writing
Um,
contracts, writing like anything, letters.
and you always should double check everything just to make sure. I've even used it to generate me a workout plan and meal plans.
Yeah, it's good for that too. It's
Hmm.
really crazy. And you can really tweak it. You can tell it like, I'm busy these days, so when should I go to the gym? And it can like organize a schedule for you, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just like an extra tool. It's kind of like your own personal assistant.
I found it insane. I used it recently in a way that blew my mind was I always every time I have like a really vivid dream, like something that I wake up and I still remember like the details, I always write it down because I'm like, even though it doesn't make sense right now, it is your subconscious trying to tell you something.
Hmm.
And I had a really vivid dream, and I was like, why don't I put it into ChatGPT? And so I told ChatGPT my dream, and I said, like, what does this mean? Like, can you make sense of this? And it wrote out such a thoughtful and detailed explanation of analyzing like my dream. I couldn't believe
Whoa.
it. I was just
That
like,
is insane.
whoa. I was like, whoa, what? Like
Did
it
it give you
was
clarity on the
it
situation?
gave me total clarity because I was like, I have no. In the dream, I walked by. I started the dream and I was like in a church and I was like, I'm never.
Hmm.
I haven't been in church since I was a kid,
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm in a church, but it felt like welcoming and it felt great, whatever. And then I left and I was walking by a bar and I saw friends, like comedian friends at this bar, and I just wanted to go in there. And I'm like, that is a really weird transition. But the
Hmm.
AI was like, it actually makes a lot of sense. To the AI, it sounded like I'm comparing two different points in my life. The stability of like a church community environment versus the nightlife of being a performer and entertainer. And I desperately want to balance those two things, but I'm having trouble balancing them. And I was like, the fuck? It's like it was inside my head. I was like,
That's insane.
crazy.
What if your dream was saying, "Hey, go to church, then grab a beer afterwards"?
It literally could have just
Like
been
you
that.
earned it.
Yeah, maybe I should have told the ChatGPT, don't read
Yeah.
into it so much.
Yeah, don't read into it so much. Yeah. No, but that's wild. That's
Wild.
so insane. Wow.
Yeah, the usage of this thing is like infinite. Like whatever you can
Mhm.
think of, you could probably do it on there. It's just insane. Yeah, it blows my mind. Um, One other question that I really want to ask you, and I ask all my guests this, and it's usually towards the end of the podcast of when we end with this question. I want you to think of yourself at 15 years old. And the advice is essentially going to be what advice would you give to your younger self? Sorry, the question would be what advice you'd give to your younger self. But I really want you to focus on when you were 15 and think about like who you were at that time, where you were living, and picture yourself in your house maybe. And the phone rings and it's you now on the other end. And you can give your younger self a piece of advice. What do you say to your 15-year-old self?
I'd say, "Hey girl, what's good? It's me."
Yeah.
It's 2025. But I would say that everything you're doing right now is setting up for success in the future. Trust the process, keep doing what you're doing. Everything's going to be okay. Live in the moment because the highs are highs and the lows are low. And it's all a journey, it's a roller coaster. And even in those low moments, you find your strength and it will open up new doors, and the doors that need to close will close. And just keep going. Everything is going to be okay.
I love that. That's it's a wonderful thing to say to especially someone of that age. Everything's going to be
Absolutely.
okay. I've got your website up here for people watching on YouTube. Thank you. It's RaquelWildflowers.com for everybody listening on Spotify and Apple Music. And it's also Raquel Wildflowers on Instagram and I'm sure many other platforms as we always have to be on everything. But go to RaquelWildflowers.com to see your upcoming tour. You can just click on tour there and you're going to have all your dates there where they can buy tickets. And hopefully, if you do go to a show, just say, hey, I saw you on the Johnny Rogers show.
Hey, and you want to know something funny?
What?
The photo of my Instagram you had the Raquel the Wildflowers Barbie trend with the wrong spelling
Oh
before I
no.
changed it. So people you can go back and see the two E's on
Yeah,
that
that's so
clip.
funny. I love that.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
That was
Raquel,
awesome.
yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show. It was fun to hang out with you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so amazing.
All right. Hope you have a great tour.
Thank you.
All
You
right.
too.
See ya.
Bye.